Okay. I'm doing a project on how many hours of TV do teenagers watch on an average week. So first, I'll be describing the data. So the question I wanted to know is how many hours a week do teenagers watch TV? So the individuals I asked were teenagers, um, and the variable was the amount of time spent watching TV per week, and then the type of data was quantitative. So the way I gathered the data was just by texting my friends and asking them the question, how many hours a week do they watch TV? It's quantitative because it's just simple, like it's just the number that they're asking. It's not like trying to put them in categories or anything. It's just, that specific number, how many hours a week, and that's either, one, two, three, four, five, whatever. So it's just quantitative. Yeah. Okay. Next. So this is the first graph with a bucket size of 2 histogram, and then there's the second graph with a bucket size of 5. So as you can see, they look pretty different, even though they're the exact same data. So interpreting the data. So for graph one, it didn't really look like there's a shape. Like as you can see, it doesn't really have like that much of a shape. It goes, sort of low, then it goes up, then it goes down, then it sort of goes like low and then up and down. So not really shape for that. But for graph two, it really looks like it's skewed right because there's like so much in the first one, and then it just sort of, dips off at the end. Um, The variability is 16 because just 0 and 16, that's the thing. The center for the first graph is 2 through 4. I didn't look at the center for the second graph because it's different because, uh, or it'll still probably be, it's still in here probably. I mean, that would make the most sense. But it's technically 0 through 5 and not 2 through 4, which is interesting. So yeah, that was one of my observations. But so I noticed that there's not much in between. Like so, either a person is either they watch like like a little bit of TV, like maybe a movie like once a week or like a few shows, or nothing because a few people said 0. Um, or they watch like, like 20 hours or like 16 or 15 hours. So like they watch like quite a bit of TV, like at least like a couple hours a day. So that's pretty interesting. And then also with like I was talking about with how these two graphs here, even though they're the same graphs, with this you can see the wide difference in the gap between like the first set of data, like I was saying with like, or the first like half of the graph where you can see like, oh, like some people like, you know, they watch like a little bit of TV, maybe like an hour a week, less than that, or like an hour a day, I mean, or less than that. But then some people watch like quite a bit. But with the second graph, you can't really tell that there's that much of a gap because the bucket size is much bigger, so it sort of looks like there's not much of a gap between the first part and or like the first set like 0 through 5 and then 15 uh through 16.5 um yeah because the bucket sizes are so much bigger. So um yeah. So what I would change about this project is I would collect the data from a wider group of people because what I did is I just texted my friends, um, and they were all, or most of them were female, so it really only got like a specific set of Zachary's friends that responded, you know, and most of them were female, so it's sort of biased like to that. It's a pretty specific group and probably doesn't give a great representation of teenagers across the country or even just Indiana because it's just a pretty fairly small and specific group of people rather than like, oh, people, males and females from different schools, like all around the, so it's like pretty specific, but this was like the best way for me to gather data.